and welcome to We Women Want. Well, the Women's Reservation Bill has been put into motion and hopefully will be implemented soon. But in the meantime, there is more to women MPs than just filling quotas and numbers. There are individuals, there are fiery personalities. Women have actually played a pretty large role in India's politics. So today we're going to be taking a look at the role politicians play, and of course taking a look at some of the MPs who've come to Parliament now. Joining me on the discussion today are two very senior veteran journalists. I have with me Smita Gupta. She's a political columnist and a political analyst and a senior journalist. Kalyani Shankar, senior journalist. She's an author and a political columnist. Kalyani, we've seen women MPs playing a role. In fact, you wrote a book also, Pandora's Daughters. Yes. So actually, I should have it. So going on from that, the role of women and how do you see we don't really need a bill really to come into play. Yeah. They are individuals who make an impact. If you take a look at the last Lok Sabha, for instance, a lot of time was dominated by Smriti Irani, by Mahua Moitra. This wasn't just Modi and Rahul Gandhi. So the individuality of women's, does that also come into play? It's a personal thing, but in terms of gender, how do you see women MPs?
100% what you say is right, Priya. All these days, women have come up on their own, not that party projected them or anything. Some of them have fought their way and then they have come. This present 18th Lok Sabha, people like Jyotirmani, they are from the bottom, they've come up. There are quite a few people like that.
73 women MPs.
Yeah, 73, but it's come down from last time 78. But it doesn't matter, it's not the number, it's how effective they can be. Some of them are very effective, but again it depends on the floor leader to decide who should be allowed to speak, who should be deputed for what. So there should not be any partiality. And as you rightly said, Mamata Banerjee herself came, and before that I want to clarify one thing. There are three types of women who have come into politics. One is the family. Right. Like Sonia Gandhi, then Priyanka Gandhi now, and so many others. They have all come because they have a political family and we're getting it easy to get elected because their name is well known. And the second thing is mentor. Mentor is for Mayawati had a mentor, even Jayalalitha for some time had MGR as a mentor. So these kind of mentors also promote them, and they have come. Some of them have come to become party presidents also. The third category is like Mamata. They had nobody, they had just come up on their own, they fight in the street. Mamata has fought in the street many times actually. Correct. So that is these three kinds of women coming. And actually the third category, they try to come up faster than the other two categories. Other two categories get patronized because they come up also. So I'm not saying that they have no merit, but they have merit. But then they have come. Up to that, the family and the party can project them. After that, they have to show their merit. In the house, how it's not only the parliamentarian they look at them. There are people who watch them. They also want to judge them. So the judging part of it, the parliamentarian have to do very well. Some of them have done extremely well, I would say, like Smriti Irani, you said, and there are so many other women who have done very well. Mahua has come. Mahua is, she's a real firebrand, I would say. Correct. And earlier Mayawati, she used to be like that. Mamata was like that. And Jayalalitha was a good parliamentarian, but she didn't do much like in Indira Gandhi's time. So these people have come up on their own. They have their own individuality. They shape their career as they want. Luck is very, very important for them. If they are lucky, then they can go much forward. Otherwise, remain where they are.
So Smita, taking off from what Kalyani has also said, there are three categories of women, but in fact I would like to explore that later. But by and large, debate in Parliament, do you think that women MPs add that little bit extra to it, or there's some people who stand out more than others that you would like to mention?
Of course, just as certain men speakers stand out, certain women speakers stand out. And just now, Kalyani spoke of that third category of women MPs who've come up on their own. Sometimes a person whom you would not expect to shine in Parliament, those kinds of people also do shine. So I would like to make a reference to Phulan Devi.
Yeah.
When Phulan Devi, she came in as a Samajwadi Party MP. For people who don't know, she was a dacoit in an earlier life. She had, suffered oppression. She came from one of the lowest castes. She suffered a great deal of oppression, and Then when she was released, Samajwadi Party made her an MP. What was interesting was her career. You know, because when she initially came into the house, I remember, she was such a quick learner. You know, somebody who was completely illiterate, came from a world very far from Parliament. Somebody attacked Mulayam Singh from the other parties. And she jumped to her fate to defend him. And then one could see from the gallery, because I was in the press gallery, the MP sitting next to her whispered something into her ear, must have said, listen, you shouldn't jump up like this and shout. So she never did it again. But television, unfortunately, that one shot they kept showing repeatedly. But what I noticed was that she used to watch other people. So she used to take up constituency issues. You wouldn't expect somebody for her to learn quickly, so she would take up constituency issues regularly. Then if you know, another MP had raised an issue which was of interest to her, she realized you couldn't stand up and then say that I would like to join X in also supporting
parliamentary protocol. Yeah.
And finally, when she used to be a member of you know, often delegations of members of parliament go to visit on visits around the country. For instance, the delegation that she was part of went to see the prisons. And I recall that a senior Janata Dal woman MP who was part of that delegation later told me, she says it was such a good thing she came because she knew which questions to ask. She says, and she knew when to, you know. So basically, what she said is that you don't have necessarily to be educated in the formal sense. You need to be educated in life.
Yeah.
So even somebody like her could make an impression. So I just wanted to highlight that, you know, Mahua Moitra, people like that, of course, you know, they come from an extreme, highly educated background, and I'm a huge admirer in the way she holds her own in Parliament, because even for an educated person, often, given the kind of male patriarchal system within which we all have to work, and as Kalyani mentioned, you're dependent on the floor leader, whether you're allowed to speak or not. But and the way Mahua used to be kind of cornered, but she, you know, she would anticipate. I used to notice she would, before she said something which she thought would outrage the opposition, she would always say, address the speaker and say that I should be allowed to speak. You know?
So she makes sure that she is not interrupted. But that way she is smart. But there is also the other thing is, you know, it's also easier, women become more victims of trolling. You know, even a Smriti Irani who held her own, but she was a victim of trolling. Mahua, of course, you know, her whole life was played out in the most debased manner. You know, which to target her, you use your private life. That's the easiest way to handle a woman.
The private life has never been left out of any leader, even Indira Gandhi for them, all of them. They are in the public focus. They will try to get hold of some scam, some nasty thing about you.
Scandal,
and even that's what they have done to Mahua also, no? What she did.
But it was nothing, the issue. It was just one ex-boyfriend wanted to settle scores.
So they tried to do that. And the women MPs who come there, people like Smriti Irani, for her also there were a lot of trolling earlier. You know, so these people know how to handle it. If they handle it well, then they go forward. Otherwise, if they sit with one issue, oh, so-and-so said like that about me, what will I do? That kind of, you know,
so thick skin hona chahiye.
It should not be. She was talking about Pool and Dev. I just want to add one little anecdote. I had always seen her outside PM's, you know, in Parliament, outside PM's, that waiting room. Many times I have seen her. And one day I had gone to see Mamata Banerjee, who was a railway minister at that time. So suddenly this Poolan Devi came inside and touched Mamata's feet. She literally jumped and then she went back on this and she knew. I mean, Mamata didn't know what to do. All that she wanted was for some station to be, train to be stopped in some place in her constituency. I think it was done, but then she was very conscientious and then she was, you know, learned things on the very hard way. Imagine from where to Pandit Queen to this. My God.
That is true. No, but you know, taking on the thing of, I mean, Pooran Devi's case, of course, but the trolling and the private lives of women coming out more than those of men, because, you know, and best way to bring a woman down is by attacking.
You see, politics is a very hard profession for women because, you know, unless if you come from a family, you know, like the dynasts say, or from a political family, then you have both the protection and patronage. If you have a mentor, as she pointed out, then also you have a certain amount of protection. But for a large number of women, getting into politics, forget getting into parliament, that comes at a much later stage, is very hard because you're all the time under scrutiny. Are you married? Then is there a problem there? If you're not married, there is a problem there. The way you dress, everything. I mean, most of our male MPs are not particularly well dressed. There are very few who are conscious.
Yes, I would agree on that one.
But the women MPs are either, people will say, oh, like she's overdressed, she's wearing so much jewelry and so much makeup. Or look at her, she looks as though she hasn't ironed her sari. Or look, So women are under constant scrutiny for their appearance, for their family lives, personal lives. So it is very tough. You have to have a very, very thick skin to take all that on.
Priya, I want to add one thing. The social media was not there 2 decades before. So to that extent, earlier MPs didn't have to reply anything, or they were not trolled as much. Of course, they will get, all these papers which carry very nasty items and all, they will give it to that. What about Tarakeshwari Sinha? How much the people had talked about it. So, but now the women MPs themselves have to do it, and they didn't. If they have a good advisor or good assistant, they can handle the social media part of it. These people leaders only have to say what they want to say, and then they can handle it. But then that thing was not there earlier. That is one new thing which has come, and some of the women MPs are able to handle it very well. Themselves also, because they are educated, most of them. Of late, we are getting mostly educated women in parliament, except very, very few. So to that extent, I think, these MPs have to face more than the previous generations.
Yeah, but I agree with you. But the fact about how, when we talk about Mamta, we always mention the crumpled cotton sari and rubber chappals. The Scindia sisters, we talk about the chiffons. I remember Sushma Swaraj used to wear one every day of the week. She had one color, and the bindi and the
jacket.
The jacket.
She went by that.
Yeah. So you get that becomes part of their personality when we're writing a profile or when you're talking about them. We the clothes and the.
And most of the people from the royal families, I asked one of them, they cover their head. Chiffon and covering her head. I asked one MP, I don't want to name her, said, why do you cover your head? I said, no, in constituency we have to be seen like this, so we cannot just remove the pallu. From UP, I'm saying. So that Hindi belt, they have this kind of.
No, Harsimran Badal told me, she says that, when I think Barack Obama came, so she said she went for that dinner at the president's house, the PM's house, and she said, how everybody want to wear your best thing. So she said, I also wore a sari and I went.
Yeah.
She said, I got so much distinct flack from my constituents. Abhi to apna salwar kameez pehne ka time tha, aapne sari pehn liya. So, that's also part of the whole.
But she looked beautiful in a sari. I've seen her once in her house.
She is quite
really
very attractive and whatever. See, this is something we would maybe we talk about men, maybe like a Jetli who loves shawls, but they're the odd this thing. It's never as you said.
Men also, the dresses in a way they have changed. In a world it used to be dhoti and then kurta pajama later on. But now even the rich MPs also, they wear only kurta pajama or very simple dress, even if they have so much money.
If I can just tell you a funny story.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to get the funny story, but after a quick break. So hold on for that funny story. Hello and welcome back to We Women Want. Today we're taking a look at women MPs, not the numbers, not the quotas, but just women MPs as individuals and their contribution to politics.
Chirag Paswan, he came into when he first became an MP. He was a film star for a very, very brief while and is quite conscious of his looks. So he used to wear these blue jeans with a white kurta. Apparently, one BJP MP, I'm not sure, I think it was Anurag.
I was just going to say, who's missing Anurag Thakur? Chirag Paswan has replaced him, in a lot of mannerisms.
He told him, listen, in Parliament you shouldn't wear jeans. Kurta pajama pehen ke aao.
Acha.
So, and
but we've had stories of Prime Minister also pulling up, cabinet ministers who were roaming around in jeans. Sorry,
Oh, that reminds me, Mamta Banerjee, when her first lot of Trinamool MPs became ministers, she sent a diktat from Calcutta saying that nobody can wear a kurta pajama, everybody has to wear a dhoti.
Oh no.
So many of them didn't have dhoti. They went rushing in the morning
to buy the dhotis. But even Jayalalitha's MPs, they all wore that kurta with
they
gold.
have to keep the photograph in a transparent way in the packet. So if they don't do that, gone.
Acha.
So
that's also woman power.
Yeah,
Yes.
But Mayawati is no less, you see. She is also terror for her MPs and even her party. All these people, you know, they are, I think I told you, I wrote a book on this only, how these little dictators in their own state, how they function in a democracy. It's a personality cult which they have developed and which they are trying to do it within the state only. They're not doing it outside. Nobody will care for them. But that they have done it. How many of them, even Lalu, Mulayam, all these people are personality cult, NTR, MGR, you name it, Bala Saheb Thackeray. All of them
had this thing. But even, for instance, we had Sheila Dikshit closer home. You know, she had her own persona. She was, you know, the auntie next door, you know.
No, sure.
Auntie number one.
She used to wear those printed cotton saris and all that.
Yeah, but she even, you know, she was like, you know, your favorite aunt or grandmother. Used to, every time we went to interview her, she would be in the kitchen making paratha
she
or
would
rolling
always
out something.
Always invite you for breakfast or tea or coffee along with the interview. Then you do that also. Saturday, she was very good actually.
But she had a contemporary kind of, even though, you know, so I remember somebody saying she's somebody you can go and confide in. You know?
She's like your favorite aunt.
So even though she belonged to another generation, she was quite young at heart.
Very much, and also you see her watching a movie, she'll go and watch cinemas, and you know, she knew how to balance work life and in
the
that
one
sense.
person I really admired earlier was Tarakeshwari Sinha. She used to come to Central Hall. We used to talk to her also. She was talking about Moraji Bai's time and how she had gone to Moraji Bai's house late in the night. Next day they were going to resign. So she wanted to see. He had already gone to sleep by 9 o'clock, I believe. So she said, we had to come back, and that's how he used to be. So she had lots of stories to tell about what happened earlier. In fact, most MPs, old MPs, they have lots of stories to talk about what happened earlier. But in all those, only they were the heroes, not the leader.
Not the leader.
These people did whatever was happening, because of them it happened. That's how they talk. But it's a very fascinating thing to hear about stories which, I mean, we haven't seen or we haven't heard.
Yeah, but even recently, I remember in the last session when Supriya Sule was told, she was talking in Parliament, and they said, "Aap shopping ki baat kar rahe hain" or something, and she turned around and said, even if we are, you know, women are talking, we're not talking shopping in Parliament, but outside, when you go to Khan Market, you meet as many men as women, so why are women pulled up for that?
No, in fact, if you, you know, Kalyani will also sort of testify to this. Men are as prone to gossip and light talk as the women.
Correct.
In fact, all leaders want to.
In fact, I'll tell you, in Parliament once, you know, I was watching from the gallery, and there were these 5 MPs sitting in a row, and one MP had this huge diamond ring. It was a male MP, and all the other male.
Was it Amar Singh?
No, it wasn't Amar Singh. It was an MP from Karnataka. He was from the Janata Dal. I've forgotten his name.
Most MPs were.
But they were.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that, you know, if a woman shows her ring to a bunch of other women, then people will just sort of pounce on them and say that's what you do in Parliament. But here was a male MP showing, you know, his solitaire or whatever it was.
No, Arun Jaitley, he used to always comment on people's watches and shawls. He had eyes.
You know, one thing, a lot of MPs, male MPs, some old timers, they were very hesitant to wear very costly Rolex watches and, you know, flashy things, all that. So because of that, they were not wearing it. But nowadays, it is a fashion for them to wear whatever they have to show the riches. I mean, starting from even Arun Jaitley, he didn't mind. He was very. So like that, there are quite a few. The other thing about the women MPs are, you know, young MPs, they have a kind of informal club for themselves. You know, all the rich chief ministers' daughters, all of them, they go out and they have lunch, they have dinner. Men MPs also are there, not only women MPs, together they form.
But that is a lot of it is Supriya Sule. She is, I think,
Supriya Sule,
because she is very friendly with Kanimoi, Harsimrat, and they, you know, they have, and she actually, her house is more like an open house for
even Nishikant Dubey.
Nishikant, even for men and women. You know,
he was there earlier.
But I just wanted to add one thing. You know, the kind of women MPs that we've had coming into Parliament, which I haven't seen, but one has read about them. The ones who came in the 50s, like the Sucheta Kriplanis, and Rajkumari Amrit Kaur, they were all of a certain kind, they were it wasn't so mixed, meaning the social class from which they came, they were all highly educated. Then you had the era of the Tarkeshwari Sinhas, the Nandini Satpatis, Indira Gandhi, who were also fairly from a higher social strata. But over the last 20-30 years, we see a much more mixed group of women coming in. Just as, I mean, the men, but in the case of women, far more so.
Yeah.
So, you see different groups, different kinds of women having also to tackle different kinds of problems. Say for a Supriya Sule or somebody, the problem of being a woman is there. But, she comes from an advantaged background. Father is an important minister. But on the other hand, you have MPs who, like there's in this new parliament, there is a young woman.
is there.
There's a Saroj, what's her name? Priya Saroj. She's just 25 years old. She comes from Machli Shahar. So, or that lady from Rajasthan, Dalit MP.
The other thing is
their
now
problems will be, entirely different. They will have problems at different levels.
Correct. Yeah.
one other thing I just want to mention quickly. Earlier days, it's mostly from the princely families. I believe Nehruji wanted to encourage them. He appointed them as ambassadors, so they came as MPs, all that. Today, it's not so. I mean, it's not so easy. So the churning is taking place in Parliament, which is what we should have in a democracy. So to that extent, I'm very happy that people from the lower strata of society, they are able to come, because fighting an election is not an easy job. Many people don't have so much money, you see.
Correct.
So there also, woman has to show her, boldness,
and what you mentioned, the second category of women, one of course is dynasty, but there is also the mentors.
Yeah.
And that's when you run into a grey area, exactly what is a mentor. We saw, what all Jaya Jetli had to go through, for instance.
No, you will be
Mayawati also.
You will be surprised, Priya. Jayalalitha, though MGR was a mentor, but just before he died, all that, he didn't meet her at all. Even when he died, that's why she was not allowed to meet where his funeral was taking place. She sat on the gun carriage, you remember? So she was not allowed to be there. He didn't want her to see, because she was supposed to have written a letter to Rajiv Gandhi saying that MGR is not, will you make me the chief minister? She had sent a letter to Rangarajan Kumar Mangalam. So he accepted that also once I asked him. So because of that, MGR didn't want her. He told all the party people, you shouldn't talk to her. So she was sort of treated like a pariah. Though he was a mentor for her initially. But in Mayawati's thing, there's no problem. And Ghanshyam stood by her all through.
Correct.
That was one good thing. There are many other people also who are, even the MPs also, to that extent, they get their own people to become the MPs. So these are all political.
But is there some issues that you feel that some women MP have raised issues which which are in terms of gender, the issues that only women can raise, or you feel there's some issues that women should take up, like whether it's domestic violence or that's.
Well, one issue on which I saw a lot of collegiality across party lines among women MPs was the Women's Reservation Bill. It came in way back in 1996. And you will see so many photographs of the years of Sushma Swaraj and Abrinda Karat, BJP, CPM,
Sonia and Sushma.
Sonia and Sushma. That was on one issue on which really there was cross-party kind of politics. And I was very happy to read recently. Of course, we are talking about Lok Sabha, but there's a Rajya Sabha as well. And Shagorika Ghosh, who's a former colleague of ours, former journalist, who is now Trinamool Congress MP.
I should have called Shagorika for this.
She's now been appointed the deputy leader of the Rajya Sabha, of the Trinamool Congress. And I just saw a statement that she made that she hopes to build a coalition of women MPs across party lines to take up common issues. Good luck to her. I hope she's able to do it. But I think there are issues on which women should, but it can't always be just a confrontation.
Yeah, there has to be a cross-party. They had
especially when women have to fight the battle within the party itself.
Also,
yeah.
But one thing I just want to address is all women were together for the reservation. Women all men were together for against it.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
all parties.
Absolutely.
Until they were, made to feel.
Yeah, Modi ji managed to
embarrassed
push it through. Even Sonia Gandhi managed to push it through in Rajya Sabha.
Yeah.
So it's a very.
But it's the change in time that an Akhilesh Yadav and a Tejasvi Yadav, Lalu Yadav's son, Mulayam's son, supported the women's reservation bill. So it's also a sign
Initially,
of
Mulayam didn't do it. You remember?
Mulayam didn't, Akhilesh did.
Akhilesh
Mulayam does not.
Lalu or
He says
Prasad
boys will be
also.
boys.
Yeah.
That comment.
Yeah.
So there is also a progressive second generation of men that have come in.
They are educated abroad and they are all young people and
Which
they
helps.
know what goes on. To that extent, I think they are much more. They don't talk only for the sake of talking. You know, they are very sure what will get them. Akhilesh particularly is very good. You know, he has been probably he got some American advisor. That's what I heard at the time. So how to walk, how to talk, what to say, what not to say, all these things. Stalin also had somebody to help him. So this is another thing for men MPs are doing all this. Women MPs, I haven't heard of anybody, employing, except Mayawati, of course. Nobody else.
Advisors.
But, yeah.
No, but
I just wanted to add a point to what Kalyani said. She talked about the men all being united in opposing it. Let's not forget that even though the women's reservation bill has been passed, what has been said, it's been put on hold till the census is enacted, next census, and after that the delimitation is done. And we know that delimitation is going to be a huge problem because if it is done on the basis that it's done today, the South is going to lose representation in comparison with the North. So it's like it's been put into the icebox.
In all our talk,
with this government, there is more than to meet the eye.
we have forgotten to take the name of Renuka Chaudhary.
Oh,
she was a terror,
firebrand.
I tell you. One day, I think, in the lobby, Rajya Sabha lobby, she caught hold of a MP and pulled his collar like this. That, why did you do this? So she was a real terror, I tell you.
She was. No, we've had, in fact, who are the women MPs to look out for in this Lok Sabha? Priyanka, she will probably win. I would say she would be one. Mahua Mohitra is another one who's going to carry on. Kangana Ranaut, let's not forget her. She's going to be
Kangana Ranaut, because of her stardom, I don't know how good she is.
But she says the most. I don't want to use any negative word for somebody who's just joined the House, but if her remarks in public are anything to go by, things like India got independence in 2014 and so on, she's likely to be more of an embarrassment than,
positive. Yeah, perhaps, yes.
Okay.
But if I can add a story about Renuka Chaudhary, she was a Lok Sabha MP at one time, and I remember the late Jaipal Reddy making a speech in which he used the word humongous. And some opposition BJP MPs thought it was a bad word. So they started shouting unparliamentary, unparliamentary. So Renuka Chaudhary got up from her seat, stepped into the aisle, and she's a formidable figure, as we all know. And she stood over there and she said, "You idiots, I am humongous." I still remember. That's what it means.
No, she was very...
It shows a certain sense of self-confidence.
The first time I saw Renuka Chaudhary was in Hyderabad, when NTR was becoming the chief minister. And before that, she was saying something, opposing somebody in a small gathering, and the police took her away and she came. After that, next time I saw near Ramakrishna studio in Hyderabad, she was addressing some people. After that, NTR picked her up and he made her an MLC, all that. From that, she got on. She had built on her own anyway, her profile, but she believed in kind of confrontation and taking on anybody. She'll just pull the collar and say, "Who are you? Why do you do this?"
She was quite a formidable presence.
Even with the police, she used to do that.
So on that note, thank you so much. I'm glad we had this discussion on women leaders, women MPs, and we went beyond the few names that we always talk about, because it's the end. It's not the numbers, it's not the quotas, it's the personalities that they bring to the table, and we have a lot of interesting faces and personalities to watch out for in this Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So it's going to be an interesting session of Parliament. Let's keep an eye on that. Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.